this Thursday evening once again. Welcome to our Thursday evening training. It's a great pleasure once again to spend this time with you. And as Paul said in that very nice intro, we are going to talk about healthy eating. And the reason I thought this would be a nice topic to speak about today is because there's a lot of information about eating and diets and this and that. And sometimes the information is very conflicting. And so I thought it would be nice for us to have a simplified and summarized version that we can use to kind of estimate how healthy our eating is. Of course, all of us eat every day, mostly, maybe sometimes we fast, but in general, eating is something that we have done from the day we were born and will continue to do until the end, probably. So once again, to give our sympathies to those who have been locked down, those who have been affected by the pandemic and the situation that we are going through, we just want to encourage you to keep being positive and spend this time thinking about how you can make a positive difference in the lives of the people around you and the lives that you touch. So I start with a well-known quote from Hippocrates, the father of Western medicine, who said, "Let your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food." And this is often, I think about it and I think, imagine in those days, most of the food was very natural according to what we see now and quite healthy. And he was already saying this so many years ago. It is still relevant to us today that our food should help us to live healthier lives and should give us what we need to heal ourselves when we are sick. So, from our school days, we'll recall that our foods generally are divided into three large groups. And we have the carbs, which are called the fuel foods that we get from grains, starchy vegetables, and fruits. And then we have proteins, which can come from animal sources or plant sources. So there are many different types of animals that can provide us with the meat, which gives us protein. So everything from beef, fish, chicken, all this wide variety of edible animals that we use as food, these provide us with protein. And then, of course, we also have plants, certain parts of plants that are rich in proteins. So we have seeds and nuts. So things like ground nuts, things like legumes, all these, the many different types of legumes that we have in East Africa and in all parts of Africa. I think we have very many different types of legumes. In fact, I'm always surprised at the variety. This year, I've already come across one legume that I'd never come across before. So if you are curious about food, I think you can take an interest in the different types of legumes that exist. There are quite a number of them. And these can provide us with proteins as well. Then we have the lipids, which is the general name used to describe fats and oils. The only difference between fats and oils is that oils are liquid at room temperature and fats are solid at room temperature. But all of them together are referred to as lipids because they are actually one type of item. So lipids also come from plant sources and also from animal sources. So some of the certain plants naturally store a large amount of fat in their fruit. So we know, for example, avocado, which grows in very many parts of Africa, is a familiar fruit that stores fat instead of sugar. And then we have coconuts, which is also a fruit that stores fat. We have olives. Certain parts of South Africa, olives grow, but this is more of a European fruit, which also is a fat storing fruit. So those are examples of fruit. There are other sources of lipids like animal fats, and also from dairy we can get fats. In my Luo community, one of the favorite fats is ghee, which is made from clarified butter. We also have certain cultures where they render fat from meat and they can use that fat for cooking, and so on. So all these are sources of lipids, some being of better quality than others. But that is just to summarize the different places where we get the three major food groups. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that few of our foods can be used just the way they occur in nature. So fresh fruits are often eaten as they occur in nature, and some vegetables can also be eaten, for example, in salads. But most of our foods go through a certain amount of processing so that they become more palatable. So I'm thinking of examples like, for example, when we get meat, we don't eat it in its raw form. We first will cook it. And things like legumes also, we need to cook them very carefully. In fact, with the legumes, it's good to soak them and then cook them thoroughly so that they become more digestible. So the processing of food, often we speak about processed food and say they are bad for us. But what we need to realize is that not all types of processing are harmful. Some of the processing actually make the food more palatable and easier to digest. So, for example, we can see that some people struggle with eating raw vegetables. So if the vegetables are slightly steamed, they are better able to digest them. Some people struggle with legumes, but if the legumes are soaked and then boiled, then they become easier to digest. Most of us, I think, do not eat raw meat, although some people like their meat only slightly roasted. So some of us like eat the meat, the steaks very rare, which almost looks as if it's still alive. But I think it's rare to find people who eat meat raw. So that too is slightly processed by cooking it in different ways, from roasting to boiling to other ways of preserving it. So, for example, in African cultures, we will also use to salt and dry meat to preserve it for long periods. We also do that with fish. All these are ways of processing foods, but they do not destroy the nutritional value of the food. When we speak about harmful processed foods, we are speaking about foods which have undergone a very large degree of change, usually through chemical usage and additives and so on. And the reason why a lot of this is done is in order to make the food more presentable because it looks better. They can add colorants to improve the color of the food. They can add preservatives to make the food last longer on the shelves. Sometimes the food has to be transported for long distances, so the processing can make all this easier. But what we need to realize is that excessive processing tends to make the food deteriorate as a source of nutrients. And so we should be careful. Natural foods are what we would prefer, and these are recognizable by the fact that we can relate their appearance to their source. So minimally processed foods, in order to make it more palatable or more digestible, is fine. The problem is when the process is taken very far and some of the nutrients in food is removed. Because, for example, one of the problems with refined grains is that some nutritional parts of the grain is eliminated to prevent spoilage. And that means that what is left over can last very long, but the problem is that the high nutrient part of the grain has been removed, which means that you are getting less nutrition from your grain, and what you're getting is mainly starch. So that is something that we need to keep in mind, that we need to keep our food as minimally processed as possible. Then I also wanted to mention drinks, because we not only eat, but we also drink. The healthiest drink which the body needs in large amounts is plain, clean water. And this is essential for our good health. We know that everybody contains around about 65% water. So most of our body is water. And therefore, it means that we need to replenish water in our bodies. Our body has got a mechanism for telling us when we are getting dehydrated, and that is thirst. So when we are thirsty, it's a good practice to drink plain, clean water rather than to opt for the many other variants of drinks that there are. So thirst is our body's way of saying that we need to replenish our water. In fact, we are told that by the time you are feeling thirsty, it means that your body is actually fairly dehydrated. So water is a very essential part of our drinking. There are also other helpful, useful drinks. So for example, different kinds of tea. We also have bone broth, which is made by slow cooking and boiling bones. And we also have different types of soups that we can make from food. These are good drinks. Drinks like milk are good, but not for everybody. There are some people who react adversely to milk. And in modern times, we have found this reaction becoming more and more. So if maybe your child or yourself have certain inexplicable problems, one of the places that we normally look is how your body deals with milk. So that means not everybody can drink milk and benefit from it. But it is one of the drinks that is used in large amounts. Sometimes it is added in tea. In young children, it is given straight up. And of course, it's quite has got good nutritional value as long as your system does not disagree with it. If a person's system finds milk disagreeable, it is better to find other alternatives because it can lead to some serious gut problems if one continues to use it in spite of those problems. Um, Fruit juice is another drink that we normally use, but the since it is when fruit is made from actual fruit, then it has got nutritional value. But because of the removal of certain parts of the fruit in order to make the juice, we find that the fruit's nutritional value is reduced, and also the speed at which the sugar from the fruit enters your system is too high. And so especially if you have got sugar related problems or weight problems, very sweet fruits and fruit juices might not be recommended, because once you remove the juice of the fruit from the fruit, it means that you have actually refined it. And today, some of the packaged fruit juices that you find in boxes or in bottles are really as sweet, have got as much sugar as soda. So you might be thinking that you are doing well drinking fruit juice, but if you check value for value, and it's a good thing to make a habit of checking these bottled drinks, you may find that the amount of sugar is quite high. So for that reason, large amounts of fruit juice is not recommended, because of the fact that some of the parts of the fruit has been removed, and also that the sugar content is high. And you see, when there is sugar and no fiber, then the sugar hits the blood very fast. Usually what the reason why fruits are okay even if they're sweet is that because the sugar is combined with fiber, it slows down the speed at which sugar is absorbed into your blood circulatory system. So then there are other additives like herbs that we use in cooking, salt and spices. This can be quite beneficial. You've probably seen that our newest product, the Botanical Balance, is made of a combination of spices which help the body to manage the sugar in the system. So herbs, spices, and salt are good additives, but we have to look out for other additives that are not part of our foods. For example, the colorants, the preservatives, and it's colorants, preservatives, and something else which I just forget now. Yeah, so these ones are usually simply added for the convenience of making. If the food does not have a very nice appearance as a result of processing, then color is added to make it look nice. Or if the food is likely to be kept for long periods, then a preservative is added so that it does not spoil quickly. And the problem with that is that it means that we are ingesting things which are not supposed to be part of our food. And there may be some people who will have adverse reactions as a result of that. So these are the type of additives that it is best to avoid whenever we can, and keep at a minimum. That's why we recommend that we eat our food in as natural a state as we can. So as I've mentioned now, that the foods that we should eat should be as close to their original state as can be managed, without using foods which are not palatable to us or which we have difficulty digesting. So the processing is to just mitigate that the food is palatable and digestible. Any further processing should be avoided. Then another important thing I wanted to mention is meal timing. It's not in good health, the what we eat is important and what we drink is important, but also the frequency with which we eat. For an ordinary healthy person, it is advisable to eat maybe 2 times or a maximum of 3 times per day, and not to eat between meals, because our system gets time in between meals to digest thoroughly and to absorb what we have digested. If we are eating frequently, like maybe every few minutes, maybe half an hour we eat something, another half an hour we eat something, it means that our bodies are continuously in the process of digesting, and this might not be good for many of us unless we are sick and are taking medication which requires us to eat, or for young children who may not be able to stay for long periods without having something to eat. For the rest of us, if we don't fall in the category of young children or of people who are taking medication or are ill, it's a good thing to make a habit of not eating between meals. And this is a thing I really would like to emphasize, because an entire group of foods has emerged that is called snacks. I always recommend that we need to return to some of our old habits. In our African culture, there used to be no business of snacking. We had our meals and then we went to go and do the next thing. So we did not have this continuous habit of you have a meal, then a little while later you have a snack, then a little while later another meal, then a drink. Then it's almost as if you are chained to the food. So I think it's time for us to break away from that, especially for those of us who are already noticing some health issues coming along, like struggling with maintaining healthy weight, or having a good sugar metabolism. We need to reconsider our meal timing. So if let's say you're a person who eats breakfast, then you have your breakfast, you let the body deal with that, and then the next meal can be at lunchtime, and then in the evening you have your meal. And remember, we said it's good to not eat very close to bedtime, because that can cause problem, especially if you tend to have acid reflux. It's good to eat around 2 or 3 hours before you go to bed. Your last meal should be 2 or 3 hours before you go to bed, so that the food has been digested and has gone to the lower parts of the gut and is not in the stomach. So the meal timing is important, and having periods of rest between meals is good for our system. And so if one is not sick, then that is a good plan, especially if we are thinking about our maintaining a healthy body weight. So portion size is also important, that we should eat meals which target, the meal portion should target satisfaction and not fullness. So the difference between being satisfied and being full is that when we are satisfied, we are no longer hungry. But when we are full, it means there is no more space. So our target is that we should eat until we are no longer hungry, not until we are full. Because by the time we are full, it means that our stomach is stretched to full capacity, which might be too much, especially if we have got a sedentary lifestyle where we spend long parts of the day sitting down or moving to a small amount. If we are a manual worker, or we have a very vigorous type of occupation, then this might be necessary. But if we have got a sedentary lifestyle, which most of us have, then it is a good idea to think about our meal portions in terms of being satisfied rather than being full. And initially, if we are in the habit of eating until we are full, we may struggle to just eat to the point of being satisfied. But as we get the discipline of just eating until we are satisfied, it becomes easier. Then now I want to turn to our nutritional supplements. The reason why sessions like this are important is because our products are supplement. Our nutritional products are to supplement what is in our diets. And they play an important role because our diet may have some gaps in them where we are not getting what we should be getting. This can be as a result of food preferences. So some people might not like certain kinds of food. And so for that, like there are people I know who dislike vegetables and eat very small amounts of it, or they dislike fruits, or they dislike meat, or they dislike this or the other. So for that reason, our supplements play an important role in filling the gaps in that the food we eat might be lacking the nutrients that we need. So also we find that as the type of agriculture we are practicing, where we use a lot of chemical fertilizers and we grow the same plants over and over again in the same land, after a while we find that the land becomes a bit impoverished in the nutrients that it has got. And for that reason, even our healthy foods may be starting to lack in certain nutrients. And so for all these reasons, we find that our Neolife supplements are important for the maintenance of healthy eating. And that means that we should not only tell the people who are sick about our products. It's important to tell the people who want to maintain their good health to consider supplementing. And so the supplements that I'm going to speak about, mention today, are the ones which you simply take as part of making sure that you get all the nutrients that you need, whether you are, even if you have got no specific health challenge, but you simply want to maintain good health. So the first one, of course, the one that is like our baseline is TreeNN, which we know the importance of TreeNN is that it makes sure that our cells are functioning very well. It makes sure that our cells can absorb what is needed and excrete the byproducts of its processes. And so TreeNN is the baseline. If a person, maybe because of economic reasons, can only afford one product, TreeNN should be that one product as their supplement. Slightly above TreeNN is Formula 4. Formula 4 is TreeNN plus several minerals and vitamins. So that is another baseline. So if a person can afford a bit more, then we recommend Formula 4 or Formula 4 plus. And then if a bit higher than that in cost is ProVitality, which is a broad range because it contains TreeNN, it contains multi, which is a multimineral multivitamin. It contains omega-3, and it also contains carotenoid complex. So ProVitality is the next one. If someone wants a high-powered baseline supplement, then we have Daily Vitality, which is excellent for sports people and people who really want to make sure that all their nutritional gaps are well covered because they have a very active lifestyle. Let's say they are professional or amateur sports people who really want to take good care of their physical bodies to perform. Then ProVitality is an excellent choice. And then we have NutriShake, which is NutriShake, Neolife Shake. We also have I think some markets you have NutriShake as well as Neolife. And in some markets you only have Neolife. But whatever the case, this is our protein drink, which gives us the full range of amino acids, that is the protein building blocks that our body needs in order to take care of all our building and repair needs within our body. And this is whether we are sick or well, whether we are athletes or we are just ordinary people. It's good to make sure that we get the full range of amino acids. A lot of it will come from our diet, but if our diet is a bit poor, because there are some people, sometimes they struggle with eating meat, or they don't like legumes, or they don't like this and that, then NutriShake can be an excellent addition. Also, the NutriShake is also good for children and young people, so it can help them to fulfill their nutritional needs. Then on the mineral side, for men, we very much recommend zinc. For women who have not yet reached menopause, we recommend the use of multimineral, which contains a variety of minerals that are very useful to ladies. And then for ladies who have reached menopause, we recommend Calmag because they tend to have a need for extra calcium. Calmag is also useful for women who are breastfeeding or pregnant. They can use Calmag or multimineral. So for children, we recommend as a baseline supplement VitaSquares. And for infants, we recommend Liquivite. So you can see we have a supplement for all ages and for anyone. And by taking what you need from this to help supplement your healthy eating habits, it helps us to make sure that we fulfill all that our body needs. I think as my time is running out, I wanted to also add a few points, one or two questions that are relevant to this. There's someone who asks what is meant by enterically coated tablets, because our tablets, for example, the garlic allium and so on, are described as enterically coated. The reason that we have enterically coated tablets is because those tablets are covered and protected so that the nutrient is only going to be released where it can be absorbed. So let us take garlic, for example, is a good example. Why should we recommend that someone who needs to take garlic for their supplement, that our garlic allium complex is better than simply taking garlic from the plant itself? This is because as the garlic is passing through the stomach is very, very acidic. So what will happen is that those useful items in the garlic are going to be most probably destroyed by the stomach acid, so that by the time they reach where they should be absorbed, they've already been neutralized and are no longer of great use to us. But by using a garlic allium, the way the tablet is made is that it is protected for its content to pass through the stomach and reach the lower parts of the gut, like the small intestine, when now it can be absorbed into the blood and circulated to help, for example, with the blood health, which is one of the places where we need garlic allium complex. So if someone asks you why it is better to use a garlic allium complex, then you would be able to explain about the enterically coated tablets that we have as a result of the work of our scientific advisory board and excellent manufacturing. The other question was about the chelation of minerals. So for example, we speak about chelated zinc or chelated calmag or chelated iron. The chelation process is important because minerals, although we need them in our bodies, they are not so easy to absorb. So what would normally happen is that a lot of it we would take it in with our food, but we would lose it, and we would excrete it out of our body. But when it is linked to an amino acid, it becomes more absorbable and our body benefits from it more. So that is why, for example, if someone does not like milk, but they take Calmag, they'll get plenty of calcium because the Calmag is chelated, it is combined to an amino acid, which makes it more absorbable. So that is another excellent process by which Neolife makes sure that our supplements actually provide what they promise to provide. So that is the chelation process in which we link the mineral supplements. So all our mineral supplements are chelated to make sure that they can be absorbed. And that would be a selling point if someone asks you, why don't I buy the other one from my pharmacy? Is the same. It's not actually the same because our scientific advisory board is hard at work to make sure that we get the benefit of a thing. So I think that I'm now stealing Pascal's time. So I'm going to thank you very much for your attention and to wish you very well in the coming week. And looking forward to seeing you again and to ensure you that we are very, very much invested in the success of your business and the happiness and the peacefulness of your life. And we hope that we'll keep on meeting and keep on working to make the world a much happier and healthier place as we fight against this period of the pandemic and look forward to the time when it will be behind us, by sustaining our immune system so that we can fight not only this pandemic, but any other one that will show up, that our bodies will be in a good position through our healthy eating to fight for us and to fight with us to sustain our health. Thank you very much. Over to Pascal, and see you again next time.
Thank you very much, Betty, and thank you all for the distributors who are keenly taking notes. I see a lot of people's Angeline, I see, is taking notes. Father Luke is taking notes very vigorously. Faith Ngaira is also taking notes very vigorously. So we really appreciate the effort of people making to learn. Oh, I see Anne Gao is also taking notes a lot. We really appreciate your effort because it makes this really worthwhile.